Welcome to Marin Poets Live. I'm Neshama Franklin. I work at the Fairfax Library and I love poetry. After this program airs on TV, it will appear on the Marin Free Library website as a digital archive, which also features biographies of the poets and links to our collection. Today we welcome poet Margaret Stawowy. Welcome, Margaret, with that wow in your name, which I just love.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And I guess I'll get started with a Marin poem.
Yeah, you got the clue.
Okay. This one is called Thousands of Starlings Alight from Mount Olivet Cemetery. And this is a cemetery that's over by Northgate. A few years back, there was a flock that was living there. And at sunset, they would take off in just thousands and fly in formation. It was beautiful. Thousands of starlings alight from Mount Olivet Cemetery. It started in November. By December, flocks rolled out of trees at dusk in casts of thousands, flew away above the freeway against backlit skies of burning rose and lavender. Fleet-winged amorphous clouds, endless waves of avian ocean, performing patterns of liquid fluidity, confounding with improbable formations, reconfigurations. Even commuters in lane hierarchies awoke from apathies, acknowledged the anarchic art of birds with trash pedigrees. Quite frankly, these usurpers of native species, these spoilers, riffraff, parking lot hoi polloi, should be offed. But for now, the starlings are redeemed. Those brilliant bastards are magicians, and we applaud them.
That is amazing. And I love, of course, the juxtaposition of the cemetery and the parking lot and the freeway and the lurid sky. I mean, it's kind of like a big mix of almost undigestible life that comes together for a vigorous moment of grace.
And that is Marin.
Yes.
I have another poem here about another view of Marin, and I witnessed this at the transit station in downtown San Rafael on an early Sunday morning. It's called Ex-Cons at the Bus Station. They can go anywhere now. San Francisco, Santa Rosa bound buses come and go, and still they huddle on a concrete divider. United in nothing but doubt, they suck on cigarettes, clutching everything they own in brown paper bags. They hesitate in stiff jeans, spanking white t-shirts, like truant schoolboys dressed by their mothers that morning, trying to figure out the first best misstep. But on this last day of a sentence without grammar and plenty of correction, they are incarcerated in brand new shoes, white as an electric current. A door snaps shut as another bus pulls out of the station, as rehabilitation slips further and further away, like the prison van that ejected them to freedom that morning, the guard in a hurry to leave, gunning the engine.
That's very rich and on so many levels, because it's social commentary and it's deep empathy, and it's an elegy, because we know where they're going and it's not good.
Yeah, and when I write poems, I am trying to, cut through and to get to this kind of humanity, and to, create it so that there is a core experience that we all can observe and relate to.
Right.
So.
And what's to me so exciting is that it's so lodged in what we call ordinary life, which when you look at it correctly, fully, it's not ordinary at all.
No. And I think, too, people, when they think of Marin, they think of affluence and privilege, and it's true, there is that as well. But there is plenty of ordinary life, and even among the most privileged people, we all have this heart within us, and we can all relate.
Yes, so let us relate some more.
Okay. This next poem is about a painter, and I strive to write poems as beautifully and as deeply as he painted. The poem is called Radio Van Gogh. Radio Van Gogh. It comes in waves from the days when a body could still sing about arles and sunflowers without station breaks. Listen to that oddball paint chords of cobalt in the night, the candles on his frayed hat bright as lemons, wax dripping into his bad haircut. Could he lend more volume to evening's pulsing sky? Yes. He traded all for those polyphonic stars. It was in the south of France where he plied his colors deep into the night. The neighbors said he painted too loudly, the crackpot redhead in the yellow house. He lived in a blue room, sat in bloodshot cafes, where he swilled absinthe, sang notes of citron and lilac against the blackness. There were days when he went off the air, his head full of technical difficulties. Some say he had a gospel show once, though no one remembers the call letters. Others say, no, that's crazy. There were no radios or waves, and that music you're hearing, all in your head.
So I read a novel which had synesthesia in it, and that's a poem that reflects that all over the place. The way something that hits your eyes bounces in your body and bounces in your brain.
Yeah, I find synesthesia very fascinating, and I wish I had it. I don't. But, you know, it's interesting you say that, because I do try to, in my writing, take various senses and mix them up and try to experience them in different ways.
Right.
So
it makes it so fresh.
Yes, yes, because we all have these senses, and we all often just take them for granted and just do things, experience things in one channel when we can.
Exactly, and when you recast it, the old name doesn't fit anymore, and you have to find a new word, and that makes it so much fun.
Yes, that is a challenge.
What's coming up next?
What's coming up next is Looking Both Ways. Now, before I read this, I want to tell you, I do have a thing for Gregory Peck. And I do love Roman Holiday. It's a wonderful film. I think it's coming to the Raffel soon as remastered. Okay, Looking Both Ways. In autumn, I go to Cuba with Gregory Peck. We are pieces of a collage, he and I, glued on a mismatched timeline. And though I am beyond childhood, he calls me Scout. At dawn, we eat pan tostada with café con leche. Sometimes we ride the bus, sometimes we walk. In between, we perform scenes from Chekhov for spare change. Gregory drifts in and out of roles seamlessly, but my hair keeps tangling between characters. First I'm Anya, then it's 1962. I'm under a desk, praying, while the teacher assures us it will do no good. Cuba, she said, Russia. Later, Gregory and I sit in the park among mango trees. We've just discussed impracticalities, not looking both ways before crossing the present, no matter how empty the avenues at past and future seem. How, as always, we are here. Wherever here is, you tell me, winks Gregory. We are here in a grace period. I am always grateful for grace with its vivid blue iridescence, rare as the butterflies flying through Guantanamo. At the prison gates, Gregory was Atticus, bay-suited in a sea of military uniforms. I was Boo, reclusive, but watching, waiting for my cue. Once, I thought I wanted a holiday in Rome, a gelato, a ride on a motorbike. That was a long time ago, on another timeline, possibly not even mine.
Isn't it magic what poetry can do? It's kind of like fleshing out your dreams and riding with them.
Yes, I do enjoy going back in history and choosing different people, different artists, or different people in history that I'm fascinated with,
Yes.
and I reimagine them.
You do very, very fully. You embrace them.
I enjoy that aspect of writing very, very much. It's almost like speaking with the dead in a way.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. What's next?
Well, you probably hear that I have an accent, and
Very faint.
I'm originally from Chicago,
Ah, yes.
and I have very fond feelings for Chicago, and so I want to write a poem. I have written a poem and would love to read this to you, called Things Smelled Differently Back Then. The sense of smell is important to me in my writing. Things smelled differently back then. The scent of hair was lemons. We played Rocky and Bullwinkle under the catalpa tree and chewed mint gum made at a factory near our school where I failed so many tests. The smell of exam booklets, sweet and doughy, as I marked wrong answers one after another. On gray days, instead of watching the blackboard, I'd watch smoke signals from the belching incinerator. I still don't know what it wanted to tell me. The streets stank from diesel, from the glue factory, from the neighboring stockyards. But sometimes before a storm, everything smelled earthy and electric. The sky was green. We played Red Rover until the thunder and rain came. I went inside, opened my book of fairy tales, printed in sharp-smelling ink on foolscap. My mother stood at the ironing board that was never put away, steam rising from the clothes, then disappearing.
That's so immediate, to plunge back into your childhood and round up all those sensations. And we can use a little Chicago in Marin County, I'll tell you.
Well, Chicago lives here and Marin lives in Chicago
Exactly.
a bit.
Right, right.
Yes.
What next?
Next, well, you may be aware that I am a children's librarian with the San Rafael Public Library.
Yes.
And I enjoy folklore very much, and I'm very intrigued by Baba Yaga, who is a Russian witch.
Yes.
And fascinating woman. Baba Yaga was a distant aunt. The first time I met her, I was 4. She grabbed at my ankles from under the bed. Between expectorations that stained the floors, she croaked, "Make me a house out of gingerbread." She grabbed at my ankles from under the bed and quoted from volumes of censored folklore. I built her a high-rise from gingerbread where I changed the light bulbs and mopped the floors. She quoted from volumes of censored folklore, took calls and placed bets on thoroughbreds. I changed the light bulbs and mopped the floors while surveillance cameras whirred overhead. Took calls and placed bets on thoroughbreds, saying, "One day all of this will be yours." Surveillance cameras whirred overhead while plaque clogged her veins and her blood pressure soared. Told me, "One day all of this will be yours." Her empire sagged under runaway debt. Plaque clogged her veins, her blood pressure soared. She bequeathed me dust and crumbs instead. Her empire sagged under runaway debt, and expectoration stained the floor. She bequeathed me dust and crumbs instead, though I didn't know that when I was 4.
That's so beautiful. Tell me the name of the shape of that circular, magnificent poem.
This is a pantoum.
Yes.
Written in quatrains. And you have the 2nd and 4th line of every stanza becoming the 1st and 3rd of the next.
It's so musical. It's almost like drum beats.
Yes, it is. And I like the repeating quality.
Definitely.
It's a little obsessive, but it's
So is Baba Yaga.
Yes, she is. Another inspiration from this poem was Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes.
I read in an interview that he was talking about his Eastern European relatives and how he thought that they came to mind so much when he was writing Where the Wild Things Are. They were benevolent but monsters, just like Baba Yaga.
Yes. So tell me, the Polish Stawowy
is Stawowy. It means keeper of the pond.
Pond?
Pond, yes. My ancestors worked on the Radziwiłł estate. The Radziwiłls, they're relatives to Jackie Kennedy, Lee Radziwiłł.
Oh.
And so, this is a family legend. They worked on the Radziwiłł estate as like gamekeepers.
Right, and I would say it Radwizil. That's the way I saw it in the paper.
Yes.
But now I know.
Yeah.
Right. So do you feel your Polish connection deeply, or is it, how do you grow up? Did you hear Polish growing up?
I did. I lived in the back of the Yards, a neighborhood in Chicago that was probably made famous from the book The Jungle. Although by the time I came along, the situation wasn't quite so desperate. But yes, I heard a lot of Polish growing up, and I identified very strongly with the Polish side of my family because that was the way I grew up.
Right. It's such a rich and complex culture.
Yes.
I think of it that way. Full of emotion that we don't even know about. I get this from watching Polish movies. They're very, very odd and very rich.
Yes, I would say that truly sums it up.
Yes, and it's wonderful to have a children's librarian with that inside her. So we have about 9 minutes. Let's see what you have.
Well, I would like to go on to Japan because I lived 8 years in Japan from 1992 to 2000. And there's a holiday in Japan called Obon, which occurs in August. And during Obon week, everything shuts down and people return to their hometowns because they have a responsibility to clean the family graves and to greet the dead, to see them come back again. It's very hot in Japan in August. And so this poem is called Tokyo Obon Week. Not concrete, but earth pulsing beneath. Native plants break through the blacktop while cicada drones drown all silence. The 6 o'clock temple bell rings at 6:05. That's how heavy the air hangs. All day, every day, dead heat. Nobody breathes. Only crickets chant cooling prayers on schedule. Buddha-like bullfrog punctures the evening air with a belch. Out farts the foul wind of kitchen and bath sewage. Then, merciful veil of night falls. Now, all make way to electric islands. Buy what the living and dead need. Sake, incense, rice crackers, flowers. Shuffle home under the rabbit moon when out of nowhere a ghost drifts past, breath cold on a sweaty neck. Back home, you find the cockroaches have been in your pillow book again. They don't need words to endure, just paper. The motorcycle tribes think vehicles have meaning, screech it all night long through corridors of sleeplessness, but nothing changes. Night always ends. The crows know exactly when. The dark beaks ask only for the torn trash bag. Spirits grab a last bite from altars, remember the taste of life, then disappear on pulsing black wings.
Wow, what a mix. It's a kind of, there's so much trash and discomfort in it, and yet in this case the dead are cool. The dead give us kind of what we need to help balance out that grutty experience. What a surprise.
Yes, and I know that in the summer ghost stories are very popular in Japan, and ghost movies, because they give you a shiver and a chill.
Right. Did you even learn some Japanese?
Oh, yes, I had to. So people who didn't know Japanese thought I was fluent, but Japanese people could definitely hear my limitations.
Yes. You know, the poem you opened with, the Starling poem, I thought of Japan. And somehow it had, maybe from that kind of long and elegant title, there were echoes of Japan in there. So you have Polish strands and Japanese strands and now Marin strands. Very, a nice carpet indeed. We have about 5 minutes, so let's see what's coming up.
Let's see. I will do On the Subway with Dali. Again, I'm visiting somebody from the past, another artist, Salvador Dali, who I probably wouldn't like much in real life, but oh well. On the Subway with Dali. When Salvador and I ride the metro, we take turns holding the Martin's leash. Her name is Princess. I secretly plot returning her to the wild, but Salvador reads my mind. She's not real, he tells me. I'm dead, and you're just a thought. We'll ride until the cheese clock melts, and it's time for you to wither. The map overhead plots a constellation of stations, but we're at none of them and never will be. Above ground, lovers live in the light of arms, hips, lips. We lack that kind of oxygen down here. He's hogging the air again. Needed for genius, he once explained, or ego, I think. Not to complain, but when I open my eyes, he'll be in a book, famous and distant. Even alive, he'd say he didn't know me. There are times I prefer Chagall, Van Gogh, Rousseau, but none of them ride the metro, not on my train of thought.
Ooh, and I love you had to put the ego in there, because that's, you know,
that was him.
Definitely. Another poem.
Another poem. Okay, let's do. Let's see. I will give you. I do have some here.
You do have some here.
Okay, we'll give you a short one. Okay. This one
we have about 4 minutes, so.
4 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. The last driving test. When we enter the final tunnel, exhaust fumes clinging, will there be directional signs to guide us to the other side? When we reach the end, will there be a toll road or a freeway? Will the scufflaws have to pay for a lifetime of violations? Will the righteous get good driver citations? When we exit the final tunnel, is it too late to make a rubber-burning U-turn across the dividing line? If our bodies are impounded, must we rust in the junkyard? Or will the chop shop have a salvation sale where good little engines fly into the hands of divine mechanics and let us be reborn as enlightened vehicles?
Oh, the chop shop.
Yes.
That is so fine.
Very Chicago.
Yes, yes. Another one.
Another one.
One more, I think.
One more. Okay.
I mean, I could do this all day and all night.
So could I.
love these poems.
Seasons. When green shuts down, the sound of orange hits the ground, shattering into red and yellow. Then cold rain and brown accelerate. Under the bark, dormancy saturates. The Haggards doors are closed until black is reduced to half, but always in the end, green ascends.
Ah. Are those Haggard doors? Did I hear that correctly?
Haggards doors, yes.
Tell me, the doors are Haggard.
Well,
I mean, it's just an interesting juxtaposition.
In a Marin winter, everything shuts down, and then the trees and everything, they turn inward, and it's like the doors are slammed.
I get it.
Until
the personification of everything.
It's tired, got to rest.
You're taking life really personally,
Yes.
and it's wonderful. So, do you have a minute's worth of poem, or shall we just?
A minute's worth? Why?
Oh, isn't that challenging?
Yes, this
Let's do
one's
it.
coming up in Spillway soon.
All right.
Midsummer. First come mornings in gray, then jade and blue afternoons. But backlit night is the dress for me. Across the street, a saxophone plays, wistful harmonies no matter how upbeat. I wear nights that have been cast away and bought at sunset sales. You'd be surprised what people let go of. All those silken evenings blowing past fall on my willing shoulders.
I got this flash. You know the work of Moira Kalman?
Yes.
You have a spiritual connection with her because there's so much color and oddity and immediacy in your poems. So I love that we've brought her here, whether you knew it or not.
Well, thank you very much. I feel very honored.
Okay, and I'm very honored to have had you, Margaret Stawowy. Okay, thank you again.